Good morning. Let's talk about the election results and what that means in our everyday life. That seems to be the topic that everybody's worried about now, and that's the elections are always fun because it's a huge buildup of all kinds of different things. We've got advertising, we've got machines on both sides that hire the best people to make the biggest and strongest impact on their constituents and ultimately to scare the crap out of a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, it's a giant letdown when it's over for people that their candidate doesn't win. And the people that their candidate does win, well, it's a huge high and it's an excitement. But ultimately, you got to remember that life goes on after this. We wake up and we do the same thing. I saw a post yesterday that said, if the blue side wins, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to work out, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to do my best to take care of my family and move forward. And if the red side wins, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to work out, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do my best to make sure that I take care of my family moving forward. And this is what we've got to remember, folks, is we don't hate each other. That demonized picture of either side is not reality. It's not what's going to happen. It Nobody's going to run down the street and hurt each other. Now, granted, we've had some unrest in the past, and civil unrest has been a part of the United States and any country in general over the years that happens from time to time. That doesn't make it long-term reality. Long-term reality is we create it, and the truth of this matter is that we live in a society that we have information sound bites. What presents itself as information to us on the internet, on TikTok, in 30, 40-second clips is taken as truth, as gospel, because it's there and our brains tend to believe what we've seen. What happens is a lot of opinions and a lot of inflammatory things tend to get conflated. One thing you with reality and with truth, one thing you want to remember as you move forward through life is just because it's said and in front of you doesn't mean it's true. We tend to process things that hit us emotionally, that make us excited, that make us scared, that make us frustrated, all of these different emotions that are very high um, in adrenaline or whatever. Those things are what we remember because they're associated with that chemical spike or with that emotional spike. They don't have to be true. Unfortunately, that leads to a very reactive society. It leads to a lot of fear, and we don't have to live in fear. If you unplug from social media for a couple of days, if you're able to, if you're not able to, that's a whole different podcast. But you start to look at the world differently. You walk outside and realize that your neighbors are not out to get you, that the people running down the street are actually pretty kind folks. There are some people out there that are not very nice people, but as a general rule, folks are not the demons that we make them out to be because they're the big unknown or because we paint them with a broad brush. Oh, this person believes this, or oh, this person believes that. You know what? We forgot how to disagree with each other. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. You can disagree with somebody fundamentally and you don't have to hate them. You can have a conversation with them. You can even be friends with them. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're just unreasonable and they're so far different from your opinion that you can't do anything about that. And that's okay too. But it doesn't make them evil on either side. Got to remember that. Got to remember you don't have to live in fear. You want to go back to the information piece about this for a minute. Don't let other people think for you, and especially don't let opinions think for you that are presented in 30-second sound bites designed to get clicks and to trade in attention, which is just as important these days as cash or money or anything else. Attention is a commodity, and don't forget that. These clips are designed to drive traffic to specific websites, to specific profiles, because that's how they earn money. That's how they make their money. There's nobody out there being terribly altruistic. There's a few of us out there who create, who don't advertise, who want to put a message out there. But ultimately, we all have something to offer, and we're all doing this for a reason. I'm doing this for A reason because I believe that I can leave a legacy and I can help other people by sharing the knowledge that I've had and amassed over all of these years, by bringing friends and guests on here to share their knowledge that they've amassed. And maybe it'll make your life just a little bit better. Do I enjoy it? Yes. Do I want there to be a good prevailing sense of certainty and just make this world a better place? Yes. But ultimately, it's an attention driving force, no matter what it is, and whether we call it something else or not, that's what it is. But that doesn't mean that you have to let me or any other creator think for you. Think for yourself. If you hear some information out there and it doesn't match up with what you're doing or what you're seeing in reality, then be bold enough to step up and think for yourself. Question those beliefs. You don't have to believe something just because somebody told it to you. They may not have your best interest at heart. They may not care. They may just be an internet troll who wants to create unrest and just likes to make things hurt. The internet went crazy about the squirrel peanut, and sad that any time that an animal is taken and euthanized for any reason, I don't care what the reason is. We tend to have a soft spot in our hearts for animals. The person that did this allegedly, that turned them in, didn't have an agenda. It was just a malicious. It was just a malicious act. Got that person a lot of clicks. Got that person a lot of attention. Unfortunately, it's not the positive kind of attention I think they were hoping for. But they probably feel justified in their own actions because ultimately nobody's the villain in their own story. Remember that. We may look at one side, we may look at the other and think, oh, they're evil people. Oh, these um, liberals, they're crazy. They don't make good decisions. They don't want to work for themselves. They just want the whole thing given to them. Or you look at the conservatives and the MAGA movement and, oh, they're going to destroy us. They're going to come after us. They're going to try and hurt us. Ultimately, neither of these things is going to happen. Neither of these things are entirely accurate. Some of them are based on small pieces of fact, or do we take one thing or one statement completely out of context, or one thing or one statement that has permeated society and we focus on that one simple thing, and then whenever we pull back and we look at our perspective from a bird's eye view, or we look at the whole overall thing, we start to realize, okay, wait a minute, maybe on both sides we were overreacting. Let's take a moment to appreciate the fact that we had a revolution this weekend, or this week. Whether we agree with the revolution or not, I was having a discussion with Ashton the other day. My family always talks politics, and not all of us agree on our politics. As a general rule, we kind of do, but we always talk about it because I want my kids to be informed. So I was talking to Ashton after the election, and we're fairly conservative, so we were happy with the outcome of the election. And in saying that, heard some people say, well, it should have been a landslide, or which technically, how you define a landslide, it kind of was. We had a bloodless revolution. This will pass. This will change hands of government complete control into the other side. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's not the point of this rhetoric and this discussion. And don't let the fact that I'm sharing my truth with you discount what I'm about to teach you, because it works no matter which direction it goes. This happened in 2012. It happened again in 2020. So it shifts, power shifts back and forth, and we have that mechanism inside. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It makes it the will of the people and the votes at that time. Now we have to believe in our elections and our election integrity, making sure that it is a fair and balanced election, that our voices are being heard according to the laws that govern our land. That we have to have full faith in. We have to make sure that that's preserved, because that does preserve our republic, no matter which side wins. It is not us against them. It's Americans making choices. So we were discussing our beliefs, and that it should have been everybody in the country believing one way. And I had to point out, I was like, look, I said that just because we agree with the side that won doesn't make it right. And it doesn't make it what should be there forever. We may believe that, but that is the definition of tyranny. Whether it is the guys that you agree with or the guys that you don't agree with, as soon as one philosophy takes over, whether you agree with it or not, that is the definition of tyranny. Our system is designed to be inefficient. Our system is designed to foster the opinions of the minority, to protect the minority, and to allow the will of the people to govern themselves. One thing that we often forget, and even the media and everybody talks about these folks as our leaders. They are not They are not our leaders. They're just in front. They are our representatives. They are sent there to represent us and to vote our opinions and our constituents' opinions. And a lot of them lose track of that, and they need to be switched out because then as soon as somebody stops representing the will of the people that put them into place, and the way that gets interpreted and gets implemented is really the differences we're talking about here, not the fact that we all hate each other. We don't. And I'll tell you guys right now, I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody for their political opinion. May not be able to talk to you about it if you can't have a reasonable discussion, but then I'll just not talk about it because I may be friends with you. I may like you. But it doesn't make me right. It doesn't make you right. And it definitely doesn't put somebody in charge who needs to be there forever with a big stick and a hammer. And we say, okay, well, now I'm in 100% charge here. So I'm going to force you to comply and do exactly what I want you to do. And you're going to have to comply to my opinion. And that's really what a lot of people are afraid of is that they're going to be forced to comply with our opinion. We say words like, well, you got to respect my opinion. You got to look up to this. You don't even have to respect anybody else's opinion, honestly. All you have to do is acknowledge that their opinion exists if it's different than you. They're allowed to have it. They're allowed to hold it. It doesn't mean that you have to act on it. It doesn't mean that you have to take any kind of action on somebody else's opinion. If they share it with you, you disagree with it, you're allowed to say you disagree with it and then move on. You guys can have a lively debate or discussion about it if you're able to. That's a lot of fun. Can be a lot of fun, can be very frustrating. This is what allows good political discourse. And because we have a generation, and now I think we're a couple generations deep now, but because we have avoided topics like religion and politics at the dinner table or at the dining room table, we have a whole lot of people that don't know how to talk about it. And that's the problem here. Now, one thing that you'll notice is if you disagree with the current administration or what's going on or what happened with the election results, you have a chance to change it. And it's not just every 4 years. You can research and get your opinion. You can talk to other people in a civil manner, convincing them otherwise. You can canvass, you can do all these things. And 2 years from now, you can make a difference because the entire House of Representatives on a federal level changes every 2 years. It can change. It doesn't, but it can change every 2 years. And 1/3 of the Senate every 2 years. It's designed so that no one party can stay in control for any length of time. If you really want to change it, you start working. You don't have to wait 4 years. You get to work, you get out there, you start doing your canvassing, and you start talking about your opinions. You do your research, you become an educated person, and you start getting out there to make a difference so that you can change in the same way that this election here in the last couple of days just changed our country. That's the way you affect long-term change, not by screaming and crying and spewing hatred. All this stuff and diatribe and vitriol that you've seen in the last couple of weeks is just an attempt to manipulate you to do what they wanted you to do. It doesn't mean that we're going to come and burn each other's house down. It doesn't mean that we're going to come and take each other's things away. Some people have opinions that that's going to happen, and some people want to see stuff like that implemented. You have a right to feel that way, and I have a right to disagree with you. I have a right to put who I want down on the paper for voting, and so do you. This is the true power of the American people. And when you say that the voting does not matter, we are living in a timeline in the last 48 hours where that's proof that it did matter and it does matter. I don't want to beat that horse to death, so to speak. It's just remember, folks, we are all neighbors. We have to go to work. We have to live our life. We're all still going to be able to live our life, and we're going to get out there and we're going to implement just as much as we can. But if you believe that this is a good direction for the country, then our work is not over. If you believe that this is not a good direction for the country, your work is not over. We still have to work. We still have to see that our families are taken care of, but we also have to live the life that we want other people to see. So we define our life, we define our beliefs, and we need to get out there and be the best possible example of that. If that is discipline, if that's exercise, if that's taking care of yourself, if that's showing the world that you have the ability to live the life that you believe you want to live, then get out there and do that. I believe that as men, and men showed up in this election in every demographic. Women did too. I'm not disenfranchising or discounting, but this is the Old Man Energy podcast, and I spend time talking a lot about men and to men and for men. So, one thing I'm intensely proud of is there's a lot of Gen X men that went out and voted that just haven't in the past. We turned out in droves and wanted to make our opinion heard. But the really shocking thing is this, and I see this trend on different social medias, and it's been very interesting to watch, is there are a ton of very well informed Gen Z men out there. And I don't, I'm not discounting any females at all. That's not the point. I want to talk about the guys for a little while. I want to talk about the fact that these young men did their research, got up and went and voted their opinion. They are articulate, they are ambitious, and they are ready for their own life to begin. This is the first election for most of them, and they showed up in droves and used that power in the way that it was supposed to be used. It gives me an incredibly good, peaceful feeling about the future, because even if these young men don't agree with my opinion, and you don't have to agree with my opinion, and I'll say that until the cows come home, they know what they're talking about. They went out there and they voted their conscience. They can speak what they're talking about. They are articulate about what they're talking about. And the fact that sometimes they will regurgitate facts that are untrue, how we all are. I'm Gen X and I'm guilty of that. I get excited about something, I say it, oh God, I really want it to be true. And turns out it wasn't. Well, okay, but that doesn't make it any less passionate on my part. It just means I made a mistake. Same thing with some of these younger men. They're actually thinking for themselves. Now, maybe they're not as educated on how to do that and how to go do their research and not have it slanted or be biased, which is another problem. But the point is that they showed up, they exercised their right, and despite all the odds, they were able to make a difference. And now they have a chance at possibly a better life in a country that they helped define. And if they didn't agree with what happened in the results of the election, you know what? You get a chance to do it again in 2 years. You get a chance to do it again in 4 years. That's the beautiful thing about the system, is it's constant change. So I want to leave you with this today. I want you to not accept information just because it shows up in a 45-second emotional soundbite. I want you to do your own research. And if you don't know how to do that, then reach out to me. Let's have a discussion. Maybe we'll make a podcast in the future about how to actually do unbiased research so that you come up with your own opinion. You don't have to repeat other people's talking points. You should always think for yourself. I believe in every single one of you. I'm proud of my country today, and I'm looking forward to another 4 years of movement and growth. And then, you know what? 4 years from now, we're going to look forward to four more. But I'm proud of what happened. And I'm proud of what we did as a country and the way we came together, both sides, to exercise our civil duties and responsibilities. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe. Hit that button. Make sure that you're notified of what I'm doing and what's going on. Follow me on social media. Love y'all.